Good morning. It is Monday, September 16th. Actually, the other day, I apologize, I got that wrong and told somebody it was Thursday when it wasn't Thursday. I think it freaked out D-Dub. But anyways, hello. And first off, let me start with an apology. I did not get to do like 3 days of this last week, and I wish that I could have, but unfortunately, life kind of got in the way in terms of my day job. We were a little bit short-staffed, so I had to pick up a lot of extra time in the evenings, which left me very tired for getting up early in the mornings to do this. And then, at least one of those mornings, I had to work right in the middle of the time that I would normally be streaming. So that was a little bit of a challenge, and it wasn't the best feeling in the world to be like, oh yeah, I'm doing 90 days of live streaming, and then to do a week where I only got to do 2 of them when I was doing 4 or 5 of them in the previous weeks. So it wasn't a total wash though, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. Despite the fact that that sort of got in the way and was kind of an inconvenience for me, it wasn't a complete catastrophe, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today, where some of the times that life kind of gets in the way of your channel. You're trying to be consistent with your gaming channel, whether that's producing pre-produced content or doing live streams, whatever it is that you do on your channel predominantly. Sometimes things just get in the way and it can cause issues. Caitlin, hello, how are you this morning? Appreciate you stopping by. So that's really what I wanted to do today, was just talk about, what it's like when real life gets in the way, and then just kind of go through some of the things like the perception you should have of that, like mentally how you deal with it, and then logistically, some things you can do to make sure it doesn't become like a major issue for you, or to derail you entirely. Oak City, what's up, man? How you doing this morning? I assume you've also been playing a lot of Borderlands 3. I did get some time to do that this weekend, which was nice. Got to play some with Dad, so... again, not a total wash for the channel this past week, just rough for the morning live stream, which was unsettling. I was just binge watching NES Addict's videos. He's got a lot of great videos. It's not a bad idea at all. About to dip for work. Right on, man. Well, I appreciate you stopping by for a few, and I hope you have a great day at work. So, let's go ahead and get back onto it. So, what do you do when life gets in the way? Because sometimes real life is going to get in the way, right? Whether you have family obligations, work obligations, social obligations, personal obligations, whatever it is, sometimes things are just going to pop up and there's not a whole lot that you can do about it. But also, I think one of the important things to remember is to keep everything in perspective when it comes to YouTube, right? And I've said this before, YouTube is a really important thing. If you're a content creator and you're very serious about it, that's a very important thing to a creator, is your YouTube channel. But it's not the only thing, right? There are other things in your life that are also extremely important to make sure that you're keeping in balance. And while sometimes it's just a random horrible act that sort of derails you and gets in the way of you producing content, sometimes I like to think that those things happen because it's, whatever you want to call it, God, the universe, karma, just kind of, giving you a little nudge in the right direction to say, hey, maybe you're a little bit unbalanced and maybe there are other things in your life that you need to make a priority. For some of it's family, for some of it's like, it's a partner, it's our kids, it's, personal things that we've been neglecting. So even though, yes, it sucks when something gets in the way and you're very committed to the process of creating, that doesn't mean that occasionally some of those things are kind of, just trying to give you a message, right? Like maybe you need to reevaluate things like, your rollout schedule or when you're doing things to make sure that you're also making time for the important things in life as well. Not that YouTube's not important. I'm not trying to minimize your experience or your aspirations on the platform in any way, but sometimes, you have to remember that, going out to lunch with your dad or something is a really, really important thing, and ultimately in your life, those are the memories that you want to make sure you absolutely make the time for and preserve, right? I guess those money issues are one of the worst enemies to projects, no doubt. So I'm pushing through that real life, can't support my Borderlands 3 purchase. Yeah, Borderlands 3 was expensive for that, especially the collectors. Quick Sam, what's up, man? I'm watching you from work. I appreciate it. I hope I don't get you in any trouble at work, but thank you for coming in, man. I appreciate it. Money is always good to have when you're working on a project. It can certainly help add additional resources. But yeah, so back to that first point, sometimes when real life gets in the way like that, whenever you have, certain obligations that you have to fulfill, sometimes it makes sense to pay a little bit of attention to that, because it might not be, necessarily just like this one, speed bump that you just have to worry about and push through for your channel's sake. It might be that you need to reprioritize some things in your life, so I think that's worth paying attention to. What up, though? Jakin, how are you this morning? And the next thing that I'll say is, when stuff like that gets in the way, one of the best things that you can do in terms of you're worried about, like, the impact it's going to have on your channel, especially if you're in a position like me, where it's like you made a commitment to people, like, hey, I'm going to stream Monday through Friday, 8 a.m., and one of the best things you can do is just to communicate with your viewers, right? I mean, you can put an update on the community tab, you can do a quick update video of, like, really just 5 seconds using your phone if you really want to keep people informed. You can send it out on Twitter or really wherever the bulk of your social media following is, and that's one of the best ways you can mitigate that, right? And that kind of leads me to the next point, and that was to have some faith in your viewers. And it's so weird. Oak City, you may remember this movie, and I don't know why. This is not a particularly good movie that I'm about to reference, but for whatever reason, I saw it in like 2000, And there was just a piece of the movie that stuck with me, and I'm probably going to end up spoiling it, but you probably don't want to watch it anyway. This is not a great flick. But there was a movie in 2000 called Keeping the Faith with Jenna Elfman, Edward Norton, and Ben Stiller. And the basic plot of the movie was like a standard romantic comedy where like two dudes like the same girl, but with a twist of, Ben Stiller played a rabbi and Edward Norton played a priest, right? Priests, I don't think, are able to marry, and then I don't think rabbis are able to marry somebody who's not of the Jewish faith. At least, that based on my limited knowledge of that subject. But basically, that's what the whole movie was sort of structured around. And so they were both really into Jenna Elfman, and ultimately she ends up falling for Ben Stiller. And he's like, well, I would love to be with you, but, nobody in my congregation is going to accept if I'm with somebody who's not Jewish. And the whole point of the movie, as the title might suggest, is keeping the faith. And the whole message there was that Ben had to have a little faith in the congregation, right? That they would be okay with him pursuing happiness with somebody who was not, of the same faith and everything. It was very cutesy, sort of feel-good romantic comedy. But that's something else that I think, that if there's one takeaway from that, for whatever reason, it constantly pops into my head when I'm worried about how people are going to perceive something that I do or a decision that I make. And that is that, give it the chance, people are a lot more understanding than you might think. So if you're inside your own head and you're like, oh my god, I can't believe I missed this video rollout, I can't believe I missed this live stream, all my viewers are going to be super upset. Not always the case. Now, if you made a habit, if you just dropped off the map with no information for like 6 months, yeah, you would probably have some pretty upset viewers, especially if they were really invested in you and your content. But ultimately, it's a very human thing, right? All of us can relate to things like, like an unexpected bill popping up, or having our car break down, or having a, like a family birthday party or something that we forgot about. These are all very human things, and because the viewers who watch you are human, I hope. Yeah, human. Sorry, now I'm just thinking about like robots and aliens and everything. It's really weird. But most people can relate to those experiences, and given a chance, most people will be more understanding to something that pops up in your life than a lot of the time I think we're willing to give them credit for or to consider on the inside. Uncle Strange, what's up, man? How you doing this morning? Universal Retro, Bobby, how goes it, man? I do remember that film. It's not the biggest film travesty ever created. No, it's not the biggest travesty ever created. I'm just saying, like, for the points of this example, it was a really weird movie to reference. Some obscure, well, at the time probably wasn't obscure, but now, like, who remembers Keeping the Faith from 2000, right? I do, for some weird reason. Getting better every day, man. I am glad to hear that, Uncle Strange. No, I've been having a ton of those kinds of issues. Oh, you mean just with, like, just real-life issues popping up when you're trying to produce stuff, Caitlin? Because if so, I can absolutely relate that those things do happen. Ed Norton was a serious jerk in that movie. As I understand it, Ed's been kind of a jerk at a few productions. I think there's a reason he didn't stick around as the Hulk. Are we really human, Uncle Strange? I'm not equipped to tackle such deep and philosophical questions this morning, okay? The best I got is a Ben Stiller movie from 2000. I can't answer that question. Ken says, I had to get a new iPhone, a new computer, a new bed frame, and my dad had to get his car fixed. Last one almost screwed up my trip to Southeast Game Exchange. Yeah, I mean, these things pop up, and, I think it's important to keep these things in perspective, though, right? Typically not the end of the world. If you still have a phone, you still have the ability to make content. I think it's important to maintain perspective when these things happen, but I'm going to go ahead and move on, because no, now that I think about it, it's a perfect segue to the next point that I had here, and that was to not catastrophize, right? Just because something gets in the way or something unexpected pops up, doesn't mean it's the end of the world, doesn't mean it's the end of your channel, doesn't mean you have to collapse in on yourself like a dying star, as I want to say, but rather, it's important to put those things in perspective, right? Let's use like your car breaking down on the freeway, for example. Yeah, that sucks, right? Nobody wants to deal with that experience, but at the same time, when it comes to the impact that it has on your channel, like if you miss a day of working on video because you're spending 4 hours, stuck on a freeway somewhere while you're waiting for a tow truck, that's not great. But if we're being honest, even though life gets in the way, it doesn't always get all the way in the way, if that makes sense. And sometimes when, something throws us through a loop, or we get completely derailed by, one of life's unexpected curveballs that they throw at us, it doesn't necessarily mean that the entire day or everything that you're dealing with in that moment is a complete and total wash. It doesn't. Like, if you're sitting on the side of the highway for 4 hours and you got a phone and you're waiting for a tow truck or something crazy like that, then you've got tons of time. I mean, you've got a supercomputer in your pocket, right? I mean, that's time that you could be writing down more video ideas or tweeting about that experience directly and connecting with people and letting them know what's going on, to the previous point that I put out. So just because, something is not ideal doesn't mean it's completely devoid of value or that you can't find some value within it. case in point, when it came to last week, I was really kind of irritated that I didn't get to stream 3 of the days in the morning because I love doing it. But ultimately, what I found in going through that experience was it made for a pretty decent piece of content, I think, in the things that we're talking about today. Because I know that's not an experience that's unique to me, right? I'm not the only YouTuber who ever had something pop up where they couldn't create content. And there are a lot of people out there who, even operating at the top levels that probably get irritated or derailed by such a thing. And then, people who are, just starting out or you're easing into the world of YouTube that might look at that, and to them it's a huge catastrophe, this massive thing that might just bomb up their whole day, or in some extreme cases maybe make them rethink the idea of creating entirely, and that's not warranted. You don't have to be in that headspace. Shaboinky boink, hello. Games are life. Yes, games are life, as the channel would suggest. Sushi, hello, how are you doing? Catastrophize is my middle name, and I can relate. Like, as somebody who has anxiety, it's very easy for me to take the proverbial, make a mountain out of a molehill. Like, I do that constantly. Like, if something like that happens, and even last week when it happened, I was really, really, kind of irritated. I took a hit emotionally, because I was like, people are gonna think that I'm not serious about the channel. But realistically, again, I would almost owe the viewers an apology, or you an apology, for not being like, you know what? Most of these people have hung out for a while. I think they know that just because something popped up doesn't mean I'm just going to stop creating content out of nowhere, or that I'm not passionate about it. Oak says that's either gibberish or I'm having issues writing things. Wait, hold on, let me back up. Oh, when you were talking Uncle Strange? I'm not sure. Josh, that's like referencing heavyweights, and I have seen heavyweights. Where am I at? Real life, you making up stories again? No, you're fine. There's no such thing as real life, Shaboinky boink. Everything is delightful, and it's all fine. Education gets in the way of my precious game. Right, you know the struggle, Sushi. You just want to play some Monster Hunter World, and then everything grinds to a halt. Solid Nate, how you doing this morning, man? Thanks for coming to hang out. Slayer, hello. Good to see you again. You put a hose down a molehill and drown them out. Dark, but as I understand it, effective? Maybe? I'm not sure. I'm not really well versed in the areas of golf course maintenance. Coincidentally, the last NES video, I was watching mention how he wasn't making his videos as much because he got a new job and had a baby. Right, and that's a perfect example of the kind of thing that should be taking priority, right? If you just had a new baby, you should be worrying about your child, about your wife, and making sure all that is squared away, probably a little bit more than your YouTube channel. Again, I'm not saying that you have to, stop doing the YouTube channel entirely or anything like that, but those are the kind of things that warrant, attention and perspective, right? You want to make time for both, but at the end of the day, your kid's going to be the priority. Your day job is going to be the priority, the thing that allows you to sustain yourself and keep making content in the first place, and that's where I was last week. If something happens with my day job and I got to put in extra hours, that's the thing that I got to do, because that's what keeps me employed, keeps me paying bills, and keeps me in a position where I can keep making content like this, which is what I love to do. Hello, Dad. How are you? I thought you were speaking in tongues, Oak. Yeah, that's what I would have thought as well, looking at it. Babies are money pits. I tell that to my daughter every week. She agrees. I'm glad she agrees, and I'm glad that you have the ability to be that honest with your daughter. That's amazing, Shaboinky boink. I have family take up a lot of my time. My son is 7 now. Right, I suppose at a certain age you could start involving your children in your YouTube channel, but that raises issues that I'm not equipped to talk about because I don't have children, but I know a lot of people do that. Well, Josh, severe anxiety is something I've dealt with for years. I've learned that anxiety is a part of life. It's what you do and react to situations that defines who we are as people. I completely agree with that. When it comes to, anxiety type, because that's the thing, like, some of the things that happen in life aren't even an external force. It could be an internal force, right? If you're somebody who suffers with anxiety or depression or something like that, you can get hit with that really, really hard. But one of the things I think that Oak City's saying, or at least my takeaway from it and what I've learned from my own anxiety, if that is indeed a stumbling block to continuing to create content, is that, those situations kind of help you learn how to respond rather than react. And there's an example that I always go back to for this, and that is like if you see like a 4-alarm fire happening, right? Normally, what do? You see a bunch of people running away from the blaze. But not firefighters. Firefighters run into the blaze. Not, and the reason for that, obviously, of course, it's their job. They're firefighters. But then also, they've been trained on how to respond to those situations rather than react to them. React, run away, respond, understand and evaluate the risk, and then push into it anyways. So, again, when it comes to that, a lot of the things that we would call real life, intruding on our ability to be successful as creators or to stick to a schedule that, we want to for our own fulfillment or, to the benefit of viewers, is, a lot of times these are inconveniences. They're not true problems. If you woke up every day and you're just like, oh, I can't believe I committed to doing YouTube, I hate making YouTube videos, then you've got a problem. If, however, you miss a live stream because your internet's out, that's an inconvenience. It's not the end of the world, and it doesn't warrant you, kind of getting into a headspace where you're just like, oh my god, this is just a complete just an irrevocable disaster. It's not. Perspective is very important. And then the last thing that I would say is, the other thing is to look for ways to keep real life from getting in the way. Now, that needs some context, right? There are some things that you just can't plan for. There's just nothing you can do about it. Like if you're having a baby, for example, or if you are, if you have to pull extra hours of work because you're short-staffed, kind of like, what I did last week, those are things that you don't have a lot of control over. But then there are a lot of things that you do have control over, and sometimes we're not honest with ourselves about how much control we have over the things that are real life getting in the way. And I'll give you an example right now from yesterday. I got a little bit of a late start this morning. Didn't get to play my Beat Saber and exercise the way I like to, which is about the only exercise that I'll indulge, but I got a late start, not because, there was some horrible force. I wasn't sick last night, I wasn't having trouble sleeping where I could kind of point to that it would be a legitimate reason. I stayed up till like 12:30 playing Monster Hunter World, right? That's something I have complete control over. That's a choice that I made, and now I'm paying for the price for it, well, in a small way, right? I didn't think it was really going to derail me entirely from the stream this morning, but it could have, unchecked. And, sometimes when it comes to the things that get in the way, there are preventative things you can do. There are certain steps you can take to make sure real life isn't going to get in the way, like blocking off certain time, batch filming videos to make sure you've got a backlog for when life's, emergencies do pop up, so you got something to sort of fill those content gaps as a creator. And then there are things that really are completely out of our control, and there's really not a lot we can do about it. But when it comes to the former, if you're just somebody who's a bad planner, if you're somebody who makes bad decisions when it comes to managing your time, that's something you can work on, right? You have access to the internet. There are hundreds of thousands of blog posts about how to manage your time more effectively, how to be more productive, apps that will help you stay on track. There are books that talk exactly about this and speak to the best productivity practices for people like entrepreneurs, people who operate in business, and a lot of that is also applicable to YouTube, and that's this. I try to speak directly to YouTubers with this content, but yeah, there are resources out there. There are ways that you can improve and thrive and do better, from that perspective. Let me back up here to catch up with the chat real quick. Slayer says, Matt, you're the sexiest YouTuber. I agree. And the sexiest of the OCG, disagree. I don't know, Josh is a fair-looking tuber, and Chad is the cute teeny pop skater boy. I hope they know that you were saying these very nice things about them. I hope you share this with them, Oak. Jacob Benjamin says, I'm back. Welcome back, Jacob. Appreciate it. Slayer says, 2 people at work got fired and haven't been replaced in over 3 months. I work so much overtime, so I barely do anything on my channel. Right, and again, those are some of the things that we don't have a lot of control over. Like, you could make the argument, like, yeah, you could go find another job, but if you're in a place where you're secure and you're doing something that you like for your day job, that's maybe not a practical solution. But yeah, I mean, in some cases, especially when it comes to things like family or when it comes to like family obligations or work obligations and things like that, those things have to take the priority in a lot of cases, and that's that's not like a damning indictment of you as a creator. That is just life. That is what you have to do as a human. So again, your viewers most of the time are not going to get super bent out of shape if you have to miss a couple here and there because life's getting in the way. Okay, I'm going to trim the verge, literally hedging my day. Right on, Oak. Wait, hold on. Jugs McGee, hello and good morning. How are you? On Saturday, a guy I watch on Twitch had to delay his podcast because he had a power outage. That's a great example. Right. Like these seeming like acts of God or whatever. Like you just lose power and you can't stream or you can't make video because you don't have AC. Well, what can you do except just communicate with people through your phone maybe and hope for the best, and just try again the next day. Not everything's gonna go perfect every time. Catch everyone later. Oak, you have a great day, man. I appreciate you hanging out for a little bit. Uncle Strange says, I don't know, Oak, I'd hedge your bets. Bye, man. Peace out. Joel looks like a serial killer. I look like a Sasquatch. I don't know if I'd say serial killer, but even if that were the case, there were some very neat serial killers. I'll point to Dexter and Patrick Bateman. Fictional serial killers. And then the last thing that I would say, if there was like one other way that you can deal with or find some positive to get around the things that kind of pop up in your everyday life, is to see if you can find a way to make content out of it, right? I'm a real silver linings kind of guy. Like I think that in most horrible things or uncomfortable situations that we don't want to occur, even some of the more heinous ones, there's usually something you can glean from that. Sometimes at its most basic level, that's wisdom and experience, right? Knowing how to deal with those situations better in the future. But then in some cases, you can actually turn it directly into content for your channel. Like, if we go back to like being stuck on the side of the freeway, if I was stuck in, if I was stuck in a Corolla for 4 hours with nothing to do and I was coming up with content ideas, it might inspire me to write out the script or the bullet points for a thing like, ooh, what are the best games to play on a road trip or something like that. I mean, and for me, that's just because I'm not a cynic, right? Not a lot of people, or not everyone, I should say, has that same mentality, but even when things don't go right, which that's universal, everyone has days where things just don't go right, that doesn't mean that you can't find something right in it, or you can't find some way to make sure that it's not a total loss. So those are my tips for this morning, or things that I think that you can do, practically speaking, to make sure that you're reframing life's interruptions in a way that's healthy, that's not going to leave you completely bummed out when it comes to the progress you're going to make on your channel, or just some basic things that you can do in the realm of preventative things for those situations you do have control over, like staying up too late playing Monster Hunter World instead of getting to bed a little bit earlier so you can fulfill your morning routine the way you said you would. Even onto the things that you don't have control over, which at that point the best thing you can do is just keep those in perspective and not let it don't beat yourself up too hard. And it's so weird. That's why I think that, even though I think it sounds like kind of new agey and kind of esoteric or something, when you're like oh, you just have to learn to love yourself, there's something to be said for that, because when you do, there are things that we would say to other people, like if somebody else was having a problem or if they screwed up or something like that, you would treat them with love and compassion and encouragement and all those wonderful things, and then you'll make the same mistake or something that's not even nearly as drastic, and you will beat yourself up brutally over it. At least I know that I have in the past. And if that's the case, I'm hoping that some of these things will help you get to a place where you're like, what, I don't have to be that, not the end of the world, onward and upward, let's see what tomorrow holds. Sushi says it's a shame humans need sleep. What's weird? I think there are actually a few documented cases of these medical marvel individuals who don't sleep. Like, they literally just have no physiological, seemingly, need for sleep, and they're just up 24 hours a day. I think it's extremely rare, right? I think it's like one person in many hundreds of millions, but that's bonkers to me. Like, if only I'd had that gift, I'd be a 24-hour content machine. Well, I mean, just because you can stay up doesn't mean you can't get stressed, so maybe not. Caitlin says, it was a lucky thing that Anima only had 4 stores to talk about instead of the usual 5, so he was still able to end it around the same time he usually does. 4 stores instead of 5. I'm not sure what you're talking about here, Caitlin. I'm trying to go back. It's a great example on Saturday. Or are you talking about the guy who had the power outage? Jug says, I recently got a new job where I like it a lot. It demands a lot of my time, not to mention the growing pains. Yeah, new jobs can be intimidating for sure. I have been scripting my videos for the past month. And that's one of the things that I've really enjoyed trying this live streaming thing, Jugs, is like, it kind of forced me to not script as much. Like, I'll put down a few bullet points, but even now, looking at my phone, I don't know if I can show this if it'll focus or not, but, I basically just write out simple points, like here in Evernote, and that's everything. I didn't write giant paragraphs about, exactly what I was going to be talking about. I just, tried to be a little bit more, nimble, I guess, or, just quick on my feet, the ability to speak about these topics, in just sort of a free-form, improvisational way, I guess. And I gotta tell you, that's one of the things I've loved most about this process, is not relying on heavy scripting. Has been something that it saves a lot of time, saves a lot of production effort, it's less intimidating mentally, and it also has sort of reinforced or bolstered a confidence within myself where I'm like, you know what, you don't necessarily have to have everything figured out word for word, memorize it, and then regurgitate it with pinpoint accuracy. It kind of gives me the ability to just speak in a more free-form way, and that in itself is sort of liberating. Retro Lectures, what's up? How you doing this morning? Sushi says, I get some inspiration when I'm trapped in class, and I'll jot down video ideas next to my lecture notes. Right, and that's the thing. Like, even for people who are just like, oh, like I hate my job or whatever. Even if you hate your job, there are lots of things that you can do at that job to still be making some progress. And one of them is like, if an idea pops in your head, start jotting them down. Right? You can have ideas internally all day long when if you're a cashier, if you work in IT, whatever it is, your vocation in life. I mean, there's some flexibility there for you to still make some progress internally and think about the things that you want to do on your YouTube channel, whether that's strategy, whether that's new video ideas, whether that's collaboration opportunities, or people you haven't reached out yet that you need to talk to. I mean, these are things that you can take a mental inventory of and still feel like you're making some progress, right? At that point, you're kind of like double dipping, like you're getting that day job paycheck, but then also that you're coming up with some ideas or mentally disciplining yourself to make sure that you still have an eye on the thing that you're really passionate about, which in my case is YouTube and live streaming with Red Bull. Not a sponsor. Slayer says, well, you're doing a great job not scripting it. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. It's like, and then that's the thing. Normally, and it's so weird. Like in the beginning, or when live streaming first started to become a thing, particularly on Twitch, my first reaction was like, "That's stupid. Who would want to watch someone play video games?" And then but I didn't see the value, and I was just super ignorant. And then as time went on, I started to see the value of connecting with other people, and then I realized that at least some of my desire to not stream was rooted in fear. And that's weird because, again, in person, never really been an issue for me. You could drop me into just about any social situation. I'm, happy to go, shake hands with a bunch of different people, make a few new friends or whatever it is. But online, I've always been very closed off. Like, I was such a hermit until, again, I had to break myself with that because I was like, you can't do this. You can't be on YouTube without being, social with people. And sure, there are channels out there that the only thing they do is they create content and they never talk to anybody. But I, again, would say those are the exception, not the rule. But I really appreciate the compliment. It's very validating for me, and that's the kind of thing that gives me more confidence. It's not that I necessarily need validation from others, but it sure feels nice, right? I remember Austin had an unfortunate power outage before one of his live streams one time as well. Thankfully, it was pretty short, and he was still able. You're right, and nobody unsubscribed from Austin because of that. Like nobody is going to be like, oh, I can't believe that he had a schedule to keep. How dare he not pack up his streaming setup and go to a neighbor's house and keep the show going? Like, people are more understanding than I think we're willing to give them credit for a lot of the time. Regular says, I tend to script a bit more when not shooting video. I also have a few video ideas on my phone that need more research. Sometimes I don't have the energy needed to shoot a video, so I put it off a bit. Yeah, sometimes I have problems with energy, and one of the things that I am horrible about neglecting, as I kind of pointed out from last night's, I guess, is I'm not always great at sleeping. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm awesome at falling asleep. I can fall asleep literally anywhere, like hardwood floor with broken Heineken bottle as a pillow. I could pull that off. But ultimately, my problem is I don't love sleep. I mean, I like it whenever I do it. Like a nap can be helpful, but I'm a night owl and also like an early riser type person. I like doing both. I get excited when I get up, but then I also get really excited about not going to sleep, which is usually why I take a nap during the day. One day I would like to see if I could eradicate it and do just pick one or the other and stick with it. I think it would be a lot easier to stay on schedule and be productive in a repeatable way. But not yet. Not today, my friend. And it sucks, because that probably would be helpful for my energy levels, to your point. Lola, hello! I hope you're happy. I stayed up working on Monster Hunter World. Validation isn't a prerequisite, but it definitely feels nice when someone values ideas. Absolutely, man. Like, and that's the thing. The whole subscribers, chasing the numbers thing, which I think is a horrible treadmill to be on as a content creator, where the only thing you care about is the result, and then when the result you're looking at, you really haven't contextualized it in a big way. Like, if you have 100,000 subscribers, so what? What are they doing for you? If they don't engage with you, if they're not pushing you towards like a larger dream or goal that you have for your channel, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are a success just because you have a lot of numbers. And one of the ways that I measure my success on this channel is by how many people I talk to or engage with that say, hey, that was great, or sometimes they'll give me constructive feedback. They'll be like, hey, that kind of sucks, why didn't you do this? But usually it's coming from a positive place, except for like your garden variety trolls, I guess. But you're right, like there was a video that I made a while back, and I would love to do an update on it, but it was like 5 ways to encourage the YouTuber in your life. Basically, it was just some basic things you can do for somebody else who's in the YouTube space that you can do to just totally make their day. And offering somebody just like a single word of encouragement, or just saying like, hey man, great job, like that feels really nice. I think people should do that more often. Where are we at? Sawyer, what's up, man? This topic is so relatable. Have barely been on YouTube recently with my new job and creative pursuits, but still appreciate your content. About to go to sleep, but wanted to drop by and say hi. It's funny, I just went this big tangent like, yes, you should get some sleep. Get some sleep, Sawyer, but thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Oak says, validation. Okay, seriously, but thanks for the validation, Oak. Always feels good. Ken says, I look forward to when Austin starts making his streams again. He's another great example since he has a new baby at a new store. Absolutely. I would love to get Austin on for an interview on this channel to kind of talk to you about that experience, because it's one that I can't relate to. And I think there are a lot more YouTubers with families than people think about, particularly within the gaming space. There are a lot of people who have, they have a wife, or they have a husband, or they have kids, and the challenges that they face in terms of trying to, make sure the day-to-day stays on track, content's getting out, they're engaging with the audience, is very different than somebody like me, or if you're somebody who's, single and you don't have a lot of those same obligations. It's one thing for you to be like, well, yeah, you just spend 4 hours in your evening just making content and everything's fine. But it's something else entirely when you're like, I don't have 4 hours in the evening. I have kids that I have to corral into bed or make dinner for, and a spouse to spend time with and stuff like that. that's why I think context is very important, right? There's no silver bullet solution for all of your YouTube problems. Let's see, where am I at? I will be killing monsters while watching. Bless your soul. I'm trying. I got 3 done yesterday. I killed 3 different monsters, including, what is it, Tsitsuyaku? Did I say that correctly? But I was playing with Judge and Daniel and Morrow by the end of it, and then we killed that bone monster. What was his name? I can't remember, but basically it was that monster where if you knock him over, you can actually use the pick on him and start literally chipping armor away from without using your weapon. I thought that was a really interesting fight. D-Dub, how's it going this morning, man? How goes the channel? Let's see. I don't know why this got flagged for review. Mark, hello. I tried to put everything into my channel, however, it got too much. I decided to shut down my channel for the time being. 3 months and only 30 subscribers, only 1 view for most of the videos. So why did you shut it down? I would be curious about that. Do you like the process of making videos? Do you love it? Because if so, you should keep going. You know, I mean, you know, it's slow going for a lot of people in the beginning, man. I wouldn't let that be totally discouraging. It might just mean that you need some tiny tweaks for how you approach content production or how you approach the marketing of your channel. Gold Chain, what's up, man? How you doing? Yeah, I mean, like, but I mean, it's not that I can't relate to that, though, right? I mean, you know, again, like, people will drop it on this channel and be like, oh my goodness, you have almost 7,000 subscribers. You must be a big deal. And I'm like, no. No, again, those numbers are always going to be hyper. Well, as time goes on, they will be less inflated. But where I'm at right now, considering where I started from 3,000 or 4,000 subscribers a couple of years ago, you know, those subscribers came for completely different videos. Most of them were largely unrelated to gaming. They certainly weren't related to you know, content that would be appropriate for gaming YouTubers, like helpful tips and strategy and discussion and things like that. So in that way, again, like, my 7,000 subscribers are really more like maybe what, 1,000 or 2,000 people who are really engaged. And in those early days of my channel, I had no idea what I was doing, and I wasn't putting any strategy into place whatsoever. I was just kind of throwing stuff against the wall to see what stuck. And my views and subscribers were very similar over the same course of 3 months. Mark, if that's encouraging at all. You know, it's again, such a cliche, like, you know, YouTube's a marathon, not a sprint, but it is, like, it's a game of volume, right? It's a game of regularity. Like, the more you can do it, as long as you love the act of making videos, your odds of success go up dramatically, because it's never going to be a slog for you, right? And you know, one of the things that I tried to do as an experiment, in addition to just doing the daily live streams, is I like the idea of experimenting with what happens if I put out 10 times the amount of content. You know, because a lot of people will be like, well, don't do that, because then it's not going to be quality content. But my views on that have shifted a lot over the past 6 months to a year, as I started doing more research into quantity versus quality and what those two things mean, and then finding out they're really not mutually exclusive. So, you know, it's a very interesting time. Like, and I think that's one of my favorite things about YouTube, is it's not just making the videos themselves, even though I love to film videos and I love to edit. Edit is my favorite part of the process, and I can't do it till November because of this box I've put myself in. Well, unless I do it on Twitter. I guess I can make some videos for Twitter. But, you know, it's not just that I love the act of producing the video and actually getting all that stuff in place, but I also just love the sort of metagame of YouTube, right? Figuring out things like, you know, search engine optimization, or what features are being, you know, more heavily marketed by YouTube that might lead to things like suggested video views or something like that. You know, there's like this whole other layer to the YouTube game aside from just creating the content that I also find to be fascinating. And that's one of the reasons I make so many strategy videos and not necessarily a bunch of production videos. If you want technical production stuff, you know, you can find a lot of channels that provide that, and usually in better ways than what I can. But, you know, like YouTube strategy itself, like, you can have the best looking camera in the world, but if you have no way, or if you have no understanding of things like, you know, marketing, or how to engage with people on social media in a way that's productive, or how to kind of structure your content in a way that kind of brings people to the most important things that you have to say, then you can have kind of an uphill battle. Jug says, catch you all later. Got a 30-minute train commute to catch on to. Right on, Jugs. Appreciate you coming to hang out for a bit, man. Jay, we were talking about you earlier. Caitlin was telling me about some of your difficulties in life, kind of getting in the way of things. Square One Games, what's up, man? I haven't seen you in a minute. I've been enjoying the live streams. The information is awesome. Thank you so much, man. It's good to see you, and I hope your channel is doing tremendous. If you guys aren't familiar, Square One Games is is probably one of, if not the most polished channel I think I've ever seen. If you go look at his video game content, it is structured in such a way like the audio is top notch. Like he does a lot of tutorial type videos, but it all looks absolutely amazing. It is a tremendous. It's like watching a master class in visual design. You should check that out, just purely to see some of the things that you can do with video game content. It's really good stuff. Ken says, I was just talking about you earlier. I've been binge watching your videos today. Yes, I remember you mentioning this. Mark says, I used to enjoy playing games, however the last month it seems like a job. I just want to take a break and enjoy games for a while. The recording editing process can get very tedious. Yeah, I mean, it's and that's the thing. Like, I've had people be like, hey man, you whip me up a quick 2-minute video real quick? Like, a 2-minute video might take 3 hours of editing, you know what I mean? Like, I think people underestimate the pure amount of effort that goes into production sometimes. And, you know, when it comes to enjoying games, I'm the same way. I'm getting a Switch Lite on Friday, and that's my bedtime. Okay, that's my bedtime machine. I'm getting the Switch Lite purely to stay in my bedroom, so whenever I'm about to drift off to sleep and I just want to chill out and enjoy games where I have absolutely zero intention of making content, although realistically I'll probably still be thinking about ways whatever game I'm playing could lend itself to content. You know, that's where I'm going to play Dragon Quest XI, right? That's where I'm going to play Ni no Kuni. That's where I'm going to play, you know, I'll probably stream Link's Awakening, honestly, but, you know, I guess what I'm saying is, I think it's important to make time to game, just to game and enjoy it. And that's another reason I'm not a big advocate for working yourself, just running yourself ragged when it comes to content production on YouTube. Because I think that margin time isn't just helpful for coming up with new ideas, because some of the best ideas I have are when I'm not trying to force an idea to manifest. But also, you have to have some time for real life to happen. And for you, if YouTube wasn't a thing, your real life... like the real life stuff that you do, or the thing that would fill that space, isn't YouTube production, it's enjoying video games. And simply the act of enjoying the game will naturally generate content ideas, or it will give you something interesting to talk about. Because if you love games, you're like, ooh, I went to a midnight launch, or hey, I went game hunting on Saturday, or hey, I finally platinumed this game on the PS4 this week. You know, you have to have some room just to enjoy the hobby so you can make great content around it, I think. So I try to do that. Erno says, hi, I'm back. I just want to say hi because I can't hear anything since my phone is on mute because I'm at a music place, so hi, I guess. I appreciate it, so thank you, if you can see that, Erno. Happy Lux says, much love from Luxembourg. Thank you so much for stopping by again. It's good to see you. Awesome, Caitlin Jewel. Yeah, my life is my biggest challenge. Yeah, and I think that's, again, it's a universal thing, right? I mean, every content creator, even the ones with the best intentions, still have to deal with, you know, these... real, I don't want to call them intrusions, that sounds really bad, but the real life priorities that we have beyond YouTube, which I think is a healthy and important thing. Like, you should have some things in your life that you care about more than your YouTube channel, I think. Because without it, then what's your context for YouTube success anyways? Like, what's the thing that's driving you beyond, you know, just your enjoyment of the process? You know, if you're just like, oh, I've got to be successful, or I have to, you know, turn this into a side hustle or something, like, what are you working for? Hopefully it's for some people that you care about, which tend to be the most important things that are not YouTube related. When watching NES Annex videos, I kept learning about new stores only to look them up and find out that they went out of business. It was a bit frustrating, but there are a few still open. I'm sorry to hear that, Galen. That is unfortunate. It's always a bummer when a game shop goes out of business. I noticed that you've been watching it deep into the backlog, Caitlin. Thank you. I should watch deep into your backlog. And also, it will be, I think sometime this weekend, probably, this coming weekend, I will be up in the Polaris area that I told you about, on a previous stream, Jay, but I'm gonna go to Video Games Exchange, which is where I saw all that retro Nintendo's. I mean, like kind of like the stuff that you had on your channel, where it was like the tray, for example. They've got a bunch of stuff like that, and I'm hoping that I can find at least one thing that's not in your collection at a decent price that I could procure and send your way. What color Switch Lite are you getting? Yellow, the color of the gods, obviously. There is, you know, the yellow Switch Lite is the one true Switch Lite, but Mario can't get it. Because she's gonna chip away at my style. I'm the only one on the planet, I joke, that can get the yellow Switch. So bye, take care, Erno. I know you can't hear me, but I do appreciate it. So if you watch this later, I don't want you to think I didn't notice. Banana yellow, exactly. Jay says the now hockey season is starting, and there's another hurdle for me. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, actually, you know, if you wouldn't mind coming on the chat, I can't remember if I asked you or not. I thought I did. But Jay, if you wouldn't mind coming on the channel for an interview sometime, I would love to talk to you about that and get your perspective as well. I think you and Austin would both be great candidates. But, you have an experience, or you have, basically struggles with time management and productivity when it comes to YouTube that I don't have to deal with. So I think it would be very interesting to get your insights, because I think you would be a better source of that information than I would. For me, it's all theoretical. For you, you're just like, hockey season's coming up. You know what that does to me? That would be interesting, I think. Haberlick's comment makes me think of Morrissey. I went all gray on the Switch Lite. Jay, I take it back. I need to rethink this interview thing. Why would you choose gray? The dullest of the offerings. I'm kidding. If you love it, it's fine. I did see the NES Addict used to go to Video Game Cavern regularly. I wanted to stop by Video Game Cavern. I almost did the first day I showed up at the Southeast Game Exchange, but ultimately did not end up going because I was getting ready to hook up with J Love and everybody else. Video Game Cavern is my home. Jay says I'm boring. That's not true, Jay. You are a delightful human being, and I want to squeeze all of the insights out of your brain and put it onto the channel so that I can capitalize on it in the form of content. And also because I like you as a person. Not in that order. I'm good friends with the people there, and that's one of the things I love about going to the shops in this area. Like, unfair advantage for me though, because Muzz has been a friend of mine for a long time, but he owns and runs L1 Games in the Tuttle Mall, so I like to go over there and hang out with him. The other day I went and basically just took him some Taco Bell out of the blue, because that's what I usually do. Is we'll bring some food over there for him while he's working and hang out. But I hadn't been there in a while, and it felt good to just hang out and just talk games and just chill out with a friend. But then also Darren over at Warp Zone's a super great guy, and I don't know, I think it's better when you kind of develop those friendships with the people that run game shops, just because it's just more interesting. For me, I could just go loiter in one of those places and not buy anything, which I'm sure they don't appreciate, but I could, and I would have a blast just browsing games and talking to awesome staff members. Even my GameStop, when I know a lot of people like to throw shade at GameStop and everything, and to be fair, they've earned a little bit of it, but at the same time, the people that made those decisions or put those policies in place are not the same people that are selling you a copy of Halo Infinite, right? So a lot of the people that I've talked to at GameStop are just really awesome, well-meaning people with a huge love and passion for video games. So the fact that it's right next to Chipotle makes me a regular there more often than I'd like to admit. But yeah, so that's kind of how life got in the way for me last week. But not the worst thing in the world. Not a total wash. Now, Goldchain says I do that at every store, especially GameStop and Micro Center. I mean, I haven't been to Micro Center in a minute. But yeah, plus, one, it's just being a good human being, right? And that's the thing, because it's right next to Chipotle. This is an easy thing you can do just to be nice to somebody. Is I know a lot of people Leslie, James when he still worked there, they would be stuck on a shift all by themselves, and then they can't really leave the store, right? They're just sort of captive in GameStop if they're the only one working. So it's right next to Chipotle. I'm like, hey man, you want to go grab you a burrito? You want to go get something to drink? A lot of the time the people that are working a single shift there would really appreciate a Coca-Cola or something. So that's something nice you could do for them if you, if you like the people at your local GameStop. If you can't stand them, maybe don't offer that. Square One says, I haven't been a retro game hunting in a long time. I'd love to visit L1 Games and meet Muzz. His store on YouTube is so iconic. It really is. And he is an absolute sweetheart, man. Same dude online as he is off. I'm sure he'd be thrilled to hang out with you in person, Square One. Plus, that's just level 1, Square One. That just seems like a moral imperative. How to make friends with GameStop people? Bring Taco Bell. Yeah, I've done that. One time I showed up at GameStop for no reason with a pizza because I was picking one up for myself. I was like, I'll grab one for them too. It's just a nice thing to do. I know a lot of people hate GameStop. I stopped seeing posts on Facebook about them closing the stores and people giving laugh reacts saying good. And that's the thing, okay, it's interesting for me, some of the decisions GameStop have made, and I've definitely been vocal about some of the major missteps that I thought GameStop made as a corporation, but I'm not sitting here yeah, I hope they die and go out of business. I don't want that. And a lot of the people out there who are saying oh yeah, GameStop's finally going to go under, truthfully, really, a lot of them on the inside, they don't want it to happen either. Because as much as you could, just badmouth GameStop and their horrible employee practices, or them constantly pushing things like gameplay guarantee protection or pre-orders and stuff like that, a lot of us have a lot of really good memories at GameStop. I know I do. I've gone to a ton of different midnight launches. I could probably name a dozen of them off the top of my head that I went to, and I had a tremendous time connecting with a bunch of other gamers, and then employees that I just really, really liked there. So even though a lot of people are rah, GameStop's finally gonna die, I don't celebrate it. It doesn't make me happy. I wish that, I think the only thing part of it that would make me happy is that it's a cautionary tale for other retailers that if you do shady stuff or if you I guess betray your core audience and try to make this foray into something that's not video game related, just to shore up profits for a better quarter, that's not a good long-term strategy because now they're putting themselves in a rough position. And I hope that that's something good that could come out of it. But I don't want GameStop to go away. I like GameStop. Maro's here? Maro, the reason that I got a slightly late start is because you forced me to play Monster Hunter World. I hope you're happy. As I talk about real life getting in the way, I just want everyone to know that Maru is entirely responsible for everything that happened where I didn't get to stream. She made me play Monster Hunter World. Goldchase is right, it's all in being a good human. Right, man, and I think that's where a lot of people overthink their channels, period, right? Myself included. Like, I say this, I'm not like, oh yes, those other people who keep overthinking things. No, I've overthought things to a tremendous degree. But at its absolute core, I mean, I think that success on the channel, and, I'm going to find out myself, so if I'm wrong in 20 years, if I'm still spinning my wheels, not really making a lot of progress with the channel, I'll hang it up, and, well, I probably won't, I'm really stubborn. But what I'm saying is, like, at its most basic, be a good person, connect with people, make consistent content for an audience that's going to appreciate that you love to do. And I think so many people get caught up in the tangibles, right? Things that you can itemize on a spreadsheet or things that you can measure, like subscribers, like viewer retention, like watch time, like ad revenue, that you get so attached to those numbers that you start getting away from the thing that really makes you special and unique to begin with, and that is your personal love of video games and your ability to connect with the people who sort of share those views or appreciate the things that you put out. And it's weird because that sounds so wishy-washy and like just theoretical, but it's just this basic human principle, Goldchain. You're right. Connect with people. Little Caesars, cheap and awesome. Hey, I don't mind Little Caesars. I know a lot of people scoff at their $5 hot and readies, but every now and then if I'm in a rush, I don't mind getting some Little Caesars hot and ready. It's better with the sauce there, right? If you get like a ranch cup with it or something. It's the company that effed up, not the employees. Right, exactly. The employees shouldn't be held accountable to decisions that the top brass have made in the interest of, bolstering their bottom line, right? The only thing that the workers can do is, sort of play by their rules or find another job. And some of the best people that I've met at GameStop did decide to go ahead and find another job, and I think they're much happier for it. But the ones that still stick around, like, I love those guys. They're great. And that's the thing. The other thing too I like about developing a friendship with some of the people that sell games is that once they know you as a regular, they don't ever really try to upsell you on anything, and they're never gonna do some of the common sales tactics that they might otherwise use for somebody who's just random off the street. Plus, it's just enjoyable. Making friends is great. Sushi, it's going to rain today. Why? That's not the worst thing, is it? I find the rain to be quite relaxing. Because I don't want GameStop to close. It's already bad enough we lost Toys R Us. Right, it's, that was a staple of my childhood, too. I don't mind GameStop, but I only shop there half time. Yeah, but you're pretty firmly retro. No, I'm curious, Jay, do you ever shop their retro sales online? Because they do have a pretty good selection. Sometimes they have really good prices on retro games. No gamer should really want the only major game store chain to close. I know, right? Disc, what's up, man? We need to be friends on PS4 so we can play Monster Hunter one day. Send me a friend request now. It should be YourPlayerTwo. It should be in the description of the video. I would be happy to do that. I would play Monster Hunter World with you. Mars says, that sucks the GameStop is closing. I shop mostly there, but it's because I met such a great employees there. I just got lucky. Right, and I don't think there's really been a single GameStop, maybe one or two where, the staff weren't especially friendly or anything, but most of my experiences have been positive ones. And I don't think they're going to be completely out of business. I think they've still probably got... I don't know, it really depends on how they pivot this new strategy. It's hard to say. I think they'll at least be around for another 2 or 3 years. And I hope they turn it around. I don't know. I would say that if they continued their current focus, where they just had a bunch of stores that, weren't really getting... Where they kept loading it up with, like collectibles and stuff like that, and it wasn't really selling, if they're just, like, real stubborn about the strategy, and they refuse to adapt or find some new way to get, gamers to actually want to go in there and to spend money on things, then they're going to be in trouble. But I don't know, we'll have to see. I've been sick for like weeks, so I binged Monster Hunter World and drank tea. Right? Yeah. See, like another perfect example of life getting in the way. You get sick. If you get sick, don't make videos. Don't sweat it. Just tell everyone that you're sick, and take a couple of days. You're always going to make better content and feel better whenever you're operating at when you're at full operational capacity, I guess I should say. I don't think I overthink things. It's literally time management. See, for me, it could be a combo. I also hate the fact that I can't watch a lot of other channels. For example, I hear great things about Discard, but I never his channel to check it out. Sorry, but whenever you get a chance, it's worth checking out. But dude, I'm in the same way. Like I haven't been watching a ton of content, even from the people I hung out with at Southeast Game Exchange over the past couple of weeks, especially well last week because work was nuts. But you know, I mean, we all have this finite amount of time, right? The best you can do is the best you can do, and if you can only drop in on someone's channel to say hi like once every 3 months, that's better than nothing, right? And most people are I think, reasonable enough to know, like, oh yeah, this person's also a content creator. It takes up a lot of time, especially if you're a family man. Excuse me, is it too early to converse? My addiction to Borderlands 3 is your fault. Oh, I'm well aware, Mara, and I don't feel at all, I feel no regret making you love Borderlands. Sushi says, Mara, are you getting the yellow or turquoise Switch Lite? She's getting the turquoise. She's made this abundantly clear. There's really no need to discuss it further. So. It'll be a secret till Friday. Oh, Morrow. Don't you get that yellow one, Morrow. That's for me. I know the first 4 figures are putting out a Luigi's Mansion 3 statue, which is a must-have for my Luigium, but GameStop is the only place I know I can buy their statues locally and at a lower price. Right. I know you're a Luigi fan, obviously. No, I won't rain. I'm just shook it's been so hot lately. Are we finally getting the autumn we deserve? Yeah, I personally, I like cooler weather. Not cold, cool, right? Hoodie weather is, that's home for me all day long. I soloed a Viper Toby. I am back. Congratulations. You're a much better player than I am, back. Shaboinky Boink says, nah, GameStop will survive until the end of next gen. I hope so. They just need to close all their non-profitable stores and focus on improving profitable ones. I think that makes a lot of sense. They have a lot of stores out there. Yes, Mar, I want to feel like autumn, not endless summer. Jay says, if it wasn't for your AM stream, I'd be here less. This stream just works well for me. I'm glad to hear it, man, because that's one of the things, again, it was kind of a struggle. I didn't know who would find this to be a good time and who wouldn't. There's still a part of me that after this, after Halloween hits, I'm probably going to take a week where I don't stream to reevaluate and really think about, 1, what I'm personally capable of doing, and 2, to make sure that people like the format. So I'll probably put out a poll on the channel at some point or right around that time that says, hey, what do you like more, live streams or pre-produced, and kind of see where the chips fall, I guess. Please keep your summer. I want my autumn to stay. Yeah, no kidding. Turquoise was my second choice. Yeah, for me it would be yellow or turquoise. Square One says, I worked at GameStop as a manager over 6 years and I enjoyed hanging out with customers. My issue was with everything that went on behind the scenes and eventually led to me leaving. Right, and like when I worked at GameStop forever ago, like back in 2005, I want to say, the actual employees were great. My manager was great. But what wasn't great were, just that constant pressure to upsell gets really... And it's weird because a lot of customers don't like the hard sell, and I understand the strategy. I understand their thinking, right? They're thinking that by volume, it's going to work because X number of times, the customer's going to say yes if you make the suggestion. But, for regulars, it can be really annoying and off-putting, and for employees, it can be really draining. Josh got the yellow Switch Lite despite you, Mara. Oh, she knew that I had the yellow Switch Lite pre-ordered forever. Square, I'm glad you did survive, though. I wonder how the manager I usually talk to in GameStop just does it, too. She's been there for over 10 years. Yeah, I've seen some people that have been there for a while. Imagine Josh getting turquoise out of nowhere. I just might. Turquoise was very close for me. Those are both very pretty Switch Lights. That's the year I was a third key at GameStop. I gotcha. Yeah, because third key didn't really, you weren't, I think I was third key for a little bit, because you had the key to open the store, but you didn't necessarily have, management abilities, right? At least I don't think I did. I want both styles of video, Josh. I do too, Discard. I want my cake and to eat it too. That's probably where it's going to go. But we'll see. It might be that I do both, but depending on what people say is the better thing that they like from the channel, then I might have to swing, if people are like, ooh, I like pre-produced stuff more, I might only do 2 or 3 live streams a week in the mornings. I'm not sure. I'm still trying to figure that out. All I know is I really like doing it. I love hanging out here and talking with all of you guys and, trying to put some helpful content out in the beginning, and then just, talking about your experience on your channels or what you're doing in gaming is a real charge for me. It gives me something to get very excited about in the mornings before my day job even starts, right? It's kind of a way for me to preempt some of the real life stuff that I'm going to have to deal with in my day job. Ken says, I know my dad had a similar experience with KB Toys. He used to be a manager there and he was good friends with his coworkers there and still is, but he wasn't happy with the service. Yeah. And I think that's the position of a lot of people who work at GameStop. I do miss that sweet B-roll, but I do like the interactivity of these streams. I could give you some B-roll of a puppy right now. That's the best I can do in the live format. Right, I had a few manager dues, but not many, and definitely not manager money. Right, right. Like I don't remember that I got a raise for third key or anything. I think it was the management he didn't like, not the service. Right, right, right. Yeah, because I mean, and you know, you're kind of beholden to management, right? Like, what can you do? And not a lot of autonomy in a GameStop as an employee. So, well, all this being said, it's been great hanging out. I appreciate you guys coming to talk through, and especially to share some of your experience about some of the things that kind of get in the way of your production. That's very interesting and kind of gives me some additional insights, which I really appreciate. But now I got to go do the day job because that is a priority for me, and that is real life getting in the way. But that's all right because I will be back here streaming, if not tonight, definitely tomorrow morning, unless work does get in the way, which I don't think it's going to happen because now we should be back at full capacity at work. And then multiplayer stream should be on for Wednesday. I'll probably be streaming some Control or Blair Witch or Astral Chain or something this week because there are so many games out right now. It's completely ridiculous. But yeah, always appreciate you guys taking the time out of your morning. I hope it's fun for you. And I'm going to go ahead and kill it right now. But you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I hope it's a great one and that life doesn't get in the way of anything fun that you're trying to do. So, alright, take care.